Oh, Google Stadia. We were all skeptical about you before you launched, but many of us didn't think it would be this bad. So for those of you who don't know what Google Stadia is, it's Google's attempt at a video game streaming platform, similar to PlayStation Now and Nvidia GeForce Now. The appeal to a service like this is that you'll be able to play visually demanding games, even on low-end hardware, so long as you have a solid internet connection. With Google Stadia, it's possible to play games like Destiny 2 smoothly, even on a low-end Chromebook. Well, it would be possible if it actually worked, that is. So Google Stadia launched on November 19th, just a couple months ago, and boy was it a sloppy launch. Stadia is supposed to have two versions available, a free version that allows you to play games up to 1080p 60 frames per second, and a paid subscription version that allows up to 4K 60 frames per second. 2 months after launch and the free version doesn't even exist yet, so the only way to use the service is to pay $130 for the Stadia Pro kit, which comes with a controller and a Chromecast Ultra, which is actually prone to overheating when using Stadia with it, by the way. If you look up Stadia reviews on the internet, you'll see that when it comes to connection quality and lag, the results are pretty mixed. Some people report that they experience minimal lag and actually a quite good experience, while others say that the lag is quite awful despite having a great internet connection, which is pretty bad considering that Google touted that as long as you had a good connection, you would have a good gameplay experience with unnoticeable lag. So clearly this service wasn't ready to come out when it did. Obviously it was rushed. More evidence to back this up is the fact that if you want to stream your games to your phone, it has to be Google's very own Pixel phone, meaning that if you have a Samsung Galaxy phone or a OnePlus phone, you can't use Stadia with it at all. Oh, and iOS doesn't have it either, by the way. In addition to the lack of phone support, if you want to stream games to your Chrome browser on your PC, which the majority of people who use Stadia probably do, the wireless controller that comes with the Google Stadia Pro kit has to be plugged in via a USB cable, and Browser Play also doesn't even support 4K. So yeah, you have to plug the wireless controller into your computer, and for whatever reason, the web browser version doesn't support 4K gameplay. All of these things should have been ironed out before the service even launched back in November. Their business practice is just awful too. In addition to the monthly subscription fee with Stadia Pro, you have to also buy all of your games for full price just as you would on Steam for a Steam game. The difference is that you can only stream the Stadia games over the internet and not play them locally, and keep in mind that Stadia can shut down at any time, and if that happens, that entire library of games that you paid for, potentially hundreds of dollars worth, might go poof, gone. The only thing Google will probably say then is, "We are sorry." When you buy a game through Stadia, you aren't actually buying the game, but rather you're just buying a license to access the game. Trusting Google with my game library is something that I would personally never ever do. And with the service flopping as hard as it is, I don't trust them even more with my game library. But the reason why I am talking about the service now is because it's just been over 2 months, and Google is all but radio silent about Stadia's issues. Yes, they just announced 2 more games coming to the platform in February, but that doesn't seem to be enough, and they don't seem to be addressing the real issues with the platform. Here's a recent Reddit post from the Stadia subreddit by a user named Gazoogle that's been making rounds lately. Stadia has officially gone 40 days without a new game announcement/release, feature update, or real community update. It has been out for 69 days. It's time we demand better. Now that everyone's renewal date is approaching, I think it's time we outline the issues, borrowing from another post of mine from a couple weeks ago, and attempt to get some sort of response from the Google team that inspires more confidence than what we've seen so far. The post continues to list out disappointments with the service. As expected, there haven't been any further updates in January after the 120 mystery game bonanza, other than February Pro games, which we still don't know. They then go on to address the lack of features for browser, the lack of phone support, and lack of release for the free base version of Stadia. Basically all those things that I mentioned earlier in the video. Still no acknowledgement that they've read and or are listening to the community, or plan on bettering their communication model, which is pretty bad considering that the service is flopping quite hard. The best thing a company can do when their service is doing bad is to reassure consumers that things will get better, but they haven't even really been doing that. The post continues on for a little bit more. These are the main issues I can think of off the top of my head, so feel free to add anything that you think they could do better. I don't think it's absurd to expect anything other than complete radio silence from a hyped product/service launch that had a $130 buy-in. So yeah, a lot of stuff in that post basically reiterates what I've been saying earlier, but it just reinforces the fact that people are not too happy. A Google employee actually responded to the post. Here it is. All the concerns you've brought to the table are completely valid, and I understand where your frustrations are coming from. Nobody likes to be left in the dark. While I don't have product updates to share right at this second, I can promise you that I have been and will continue taking feedback posted to subreddit Stadia and other channels like the Stadia Community Forum. Back to the Stadia team. By the way, yes, Google employees seem to be moderators of this fan-made subreddit, which is a big yikes to begin with. So I don't really know what to think of this. It may just all be empty promises, I don't know. Google Stadia may soon be a part of the Google graveyard, or maybe it'll become great eventually. But as of now, it's not looking too good, especially with the much more attractive looking Microsoft xCloud streaming service on the way. Anyway, what do you think of Google Stadia? Do you like it despite all of its shortcomings? What do you think of cloud gaming in general? Personally, I prefer all of my games on local hardware. Let me know in the comments. And with that, I'll see you guys later.